you're having some problems with the temporal loom.
No. I'll find another way. Mobius, I need your help.
Most purpose is more burden than glory. Now there's no comfort. You just choose your burden.
Thank you, Mobius.
Last week, I worked on Mobius and Loki, TVA's iconic duo. They turned out pretty good, especially for suited figures. Check that video out if you haven't already. And before I finish my TVA display, let me quickly compare my two Lokis. They are technically both Season 1 Lokis, but thankfully, he had this look in the beginning of Season 2. I really don't like the first Loki figure. The design was bad, it didn't come with any accessories, the colors are unappealing, and that hair. Just why? The updated one is an improvement, but it's also pretty underwhelming. My paint job elevated the figure quite a bit. Look how much better he looks next to the old Loki. This may be my best MCU Loki figure in my collection. And now that I got a good Loki and a Mobius figure, it is time to finish my Season 2 TVA display. I made the temporal loom room 2 weeks ago, but this is only half of it. I want to add a bottom floor to my display. In the show, the bottom floor leads to the gangway, but I'm not going to do that. That area itself wasn't that interesting or memorable. Instead, I want to add some other iconic elements from Season 2 onto the bottom floor. One of them being the loom monitor. And there's one scene from Season 2 that I really want to recreate. It's when the timeline was dying and everything was turning into spaghetti. That was such a haunting and memorable scene. It's not going to be easy to recreate. So... Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. Whether it's repainting my figures or making diorama displays, I love making things look awesome. My goal is to elevate my figures so they can shine on my display. Join my DIY adventure as I ask myself the same question every week. Can I make it? Let's start with the monitor. The monitor displayed a variety of warnings throughout the seasons. For the most part, it showed the sacred timeline and its branches. But as the loom got more and more overloaded, the screen got more and more chaotic. I really like this particular screen here. Recreating it and getting it to look retro was also very fun. Alright, here's the monitor all finished. It's gonna hang on the ceiling right in the middle here. But I'm gonna do that later. I need to first figure out how to do the spaghettification effect first. Unlike the loom, yarn isn't gonna work this time. The thing about this particular effect is that the threads are going against gravity. They grow outwards from surfaces and slowly take over the entire space. So I'm just gonna have to rely on my trusty paper clips once again. I straightened out a bunch of colorful paper clips, and I'm gonna attach them onto the wall piece. The idea is to poke a bunch of holes onto the wall and feed the paper clips through these holes. Okay, this is not gonna work. I'm wrecking the paper already with just one hole. Change of plan. Instead of poking holes, I'm just gonna use hot glue to directly glue the paper clips onto the wall. Hot glue and paper aren't the most compatible, but this is getting the job done. I just have to be careful not to touch the ones that are already there. And once I finish putting down all the paper clips, I'm gonna brush a bit of white glue over the connections for extra security. Hi, it's the next day. But look at that. I love how dense it looks. I can now glue the monitor onto the ceiling. Boom! Now the bottom floor is complete. It looks just like that scene from the show. Okay, it is time to put everything together. Here's the upper floor. And to connect the two levels a bit more, I added the spaghettification effect to a poster and a TVA handbook as well, so that it looks like it's creeping its way upwards. Loki better act fast before his timeline is wiped out completely. And of course, the loom itself. Here it is, my complete Season 2 TVA temporal loom display. I love how contained yet chaotic it looks. Despite its busyness, everything came together quite nicely. Loki and Mobius fit right in. When I first made the upper level, I was worried that the room might look too small. But with the addition of the bottom level, I think the size looks just right. Technically, the scale is way off, but I want to be able to display this in my display case along with my other dioramas. I actually don't mind that the scale of my displays are off. For me, the figures are the main attraction, so the setting should be complementing the figures, not the other way around. I've made a few dioramas that are more 1:1 scale. Besides not being able to fit them into my shelves, I also find that they overpower the figures and make them look even more toyish. And with this display, I think it strikes a pretty good balance. The spaghettification effect is quite eye-catching, but by keeping it on the bottom level, it allows the figures to still stand out with a negative space around them. There's a harsh line that divides the two levels, but there are also enough elements on the upper level that ties the two floors together. The colors of the yarn and the paper clips surprisingly match. That said, I tried adding some yarn onto the bottom floor, but it didn't work because you can tell they're made out of different materials. But from afar, you can't really tell. What do you think? Do you like my TVA display? Did I capture Season 2's vibe? Let me know down below. You know what I find funny? You would think of all the displays I've made, I would have made the most displays for Wanda. But I actually have made more displays for Loki than anyone else. And he's not even my top 3 favorite Marvel characters. I've done a Loki variant display, Lamentis 1, the Citadel, Loki's Lair, and now the TVA. If they release a God of Stories Loki, I want to make a display for him too. But maybe a smaller one since he's forever alone. Surprisingly, I haven't made a NASCAR display yet, but I can always do the Revengers. I do have Ragnarok Thor, Loki, Hulk and Valkyrie after all, but that'll be in the future. Let's enjoy this TVA display first. And here's my Season 1 Citadel display. I love how they look next to each other. They're clearly different, but they feel similar. Maybe it's the shape, or maybe it's because the sacred timeline is in the background. I tried putting He Who Remains and Sylvie into my Season 2 display, but they just don't look right. They are perfect the way they are here. Actually, not perfect. I made one small calculation error. When I designed it, I made sure my display can fit into my IKEA D12 shelf, but I got too excited when I was adding the paper clips and glued a bunch of them going outwards towards the front. So I ended up having to push the bottom floor further in order for the glass door to close. That means there's no room for the base for the loom. I had to elevate the loom above both floors. Not what I envisioned, but I don't mind it. It manages to fill up the space quite nicely. But it does make the window look out of place. Oh well. This is still a win to me. Okay, let's end this with a photo shoot. Another thing I like about this display is that the display still looks pretty cool without any figures. It kinda has this haunting vibe to it. It feels quiet but also loud at the same time, if that makes sense. It's like the calm before the storm. What is your favorite part of this display? I feel like there were quite a few aha moments for me. The loom was cool, but I think I'm more pleased with how the spaghettification effect turned out. I love how 3-dimensional it is. I wish I could add even more paper clips, but it got pretty difficult near the end. I kept accidentally knocking them off. Nowadays, I try to fit more than 3 characters into my displays. This one is meant for Mobius and Loki. Hopefully I get to add Ouroboros and Victor Timely in the future as well. But for now, let me play around and take photos of the display with the figures individually. Look how theatrical they look. I have to give props to the costume and set designers. The brown stands out really nicely against the green and turquoise setting. And not in a bad way too. The colors are just really pleasing to the eyes. I just want to stare at them forever. Alright, I hope you enjoy my TVA display. Give it a like if you think I did a good job encapsulating Season 2 into one single display. Subscribe to see me make more dioramas. And until then, stay inspired and I'll see you soon. I can make it, so can you.